10 terrifying things recovered from the Titanic. The Titanic RMS was a British airliner that sank in the North Atlantic Ocean on April 15, 1912. In the process, it took the lives of almost 1,500 of the 2,224 passengers on board. The incident is the most harrowing. While movies like Hollywood's Titanic try to soften it up, it doesn't erase the most violent of details for us, most of which we're reminded of thanks to the artifacts recovered from the ship's wreckage over the years. These artifacts are not only a reminder to the great tragedy, but they also contain stories within themselves. In today's video, we'll be going over the top 10 terrifying things recovered from the Titanic. We've got quite the list, including pocket watches and love letters. Jack and Rose were not the only lovebirds on board the ship. Before we get into it, make sure you've subscribed to our channel and turn on notifications. With that done, let's start. 1. A pocket watch. First up, we have a pocket watch. It was owned by Sinai Kater, a 34-year-old who boarded the ship with his Mariam. The duo was from Russia and had purchased second-class passengers for their journey. The tickets cost them around £26 each, which in today's money measures up to $3,666. Then the ship began sinking. Sinai immediately thought about the safety of his wife and managed to get her to one of the life rafts safely. However, he could not save himself. Sinai ended up being one of the victims of the tragedy, whereas his wife ended up being safely rescued. During rescue efforts, workers recovered this pocket watch from his body. Sinai's sacrifice only goes to show the tremendous love for his wife, who misses him dearly. 2. Musical instruments. Next up, we have 2 pieces of a clarinet and a violin that were played by the Titanic band member Wallace Hartley. These instruments are an ode to the band's bravery and legacy. Everyone is well aware that the Titanic musical band went playing as the ship sank to the end. Many people speculate that they did so since they were ordered by the higher-ups, but it was later revealed that the band were not employees, but rather had the same rights as a passenger. However, instead of leaving, they chose to stay and play music in an attempt to comfort the passengers in distress. Did it help? We don't know, but they were certainly dedicated to their craft. 3. Telegraph. At number 3, we have a telegraph, which was used for onboard ship communication, mainly between the engine room and the control room. It was in fact the same telegraph that was used to alert the control room to steer away from the iceberg in its path, but unfortunately, the message arrived too late. 37 seconds later, the ship ended up colliding with the iceberg, and we all know how the story unfolded. Recovered in 1987, the telegraph was sold in an auction along with other Titanic recovered artifacts for a combined sum of $200 million. Number 4. Titanic Radio. At number 4, we have the Titanic Radio, which technically speaking has not been recovered. It's still sitting at the bottom of the ocean floor. However, plans are underway to recover it. The 1912 Marconi wireless telegraph machine played a huge role in saving lives during the ship's last moments. The radio was used to send distress signals to nearby ships, which ended up saving the lives of 700 people. As for the recovery of these life-saving artifacts, it is on hold at the moment. A big reason as to why was the fact that many of the victims' remains were never recovered, so divers might encounter human remains during a trip down there. Moreover, they would be required to cut into the ship's radio system, which was strongly advocated against by preservationists. While opposition to the recovery mission is strong, many are dead sure that it will happen. It's just a question of when. 5. Men's shoe. Next up, we have a men's shoe, or what's left of it. The shoe is in terrible condition with just a welt, toe cap, and a touch of the insole left behind. This is a rare find from the ship. Though the shoe is not a piece of art, it does a great job of adding a personal element to the tragedy. We do not know who the shoe belongs to, but the artifact helps us add a face to one of the many lost lives of the tragedy. These faceless victims were just numbers before, but the shoe helps materialize them and tells us that these people were in fact very real. The shoe's poor condition is also a reminder of how ruthless Mother Nature can be, and no matter what we do or build, we will always be powerless against it. Number 6. Cherub Statue. At number 6, we have a cherub statue that was recovered from the ship's wreckage. It wasn't found in pristine condition and was in fact broken off in places. His statue once graced the grand staircase of the 2 sunken ships. For those of you who don't know, cherubs are religious icons that serve a god. Many people agree that for the statue to survive in the middle of a tragedy is a little bit eerie. It rubs everyone in the wrong way, but that's the case with the entire incident. The statue essentially saw the entire incident unfold in front of its stone eyes. It was a witness to those last moments of many, which is why it definitely needs to be preserved. Number 7, the big piece. At number 7, we have a piece of the ship itself. This 15-ton piece was originally part of the ship's starboard side hull. It was first discovered from the ship's wreckage. Most of the ship's remains had not been discovered till 1985. We have sea diver Robert Ballard to thank for his efforts in that matter. The piece measures 26 by 12 feet and features a part of the support beam that attached to it to the ship's mainframe. The big piece is a great reminder of the violent tragedy. It shows us that no matter what we build, when it comes to Mother Nature, we will always be 2 steps behind. The pieces around the big piece was found to be completely obliterated. Number 8, the bell. At number 8, we have the Titanic bell, which was recovered from the ship's wreckage and is now sitting in the Titanic Museum. It is the same bell used to alert the control room of the incoming iceberg by lookout Frederick Fleet. He and his partner Reginald Lee both went on to survive the ship's sinking and later narrate the series of events from their perspective. Frederick revealed that he would have been able to spot the iceberg sooner if he had been provided with binoculars for the job. When asked how sooner, he replied enough to steer the ship away from its ill fate. That answer certainly sends chills down a lot of people's spines. Number 9, inspection card. At number 9, we have an inspection card which was owned by a woman named Marion Meanwell. What's interesting about the inspection card is that Marion was never meant to travel on the Titanic. She was set to travel on another ship called the Majestic, but due to unforeseen circumstances, her trip was delayed and she was booked a cabin on the Titanic. You can see the Majestic crossed out and replaced by Titanic on the card. If only her ship wasn't delayed, she could have avoided her fate. It is pretty eerie when you think about how these little decisions could have drastically changed her outcome if we only had a time machine. Number 10, a love letter. Though Titanic is famous for the love story of Jack and Rose, there were other lovebirds on board as well. Among them was cabin attendant Richard Gabby. While on board, Richard wrote a love letter to his wife, who unfortunately never got to it, since it ended up sinking to the ocean floor with the ship. The letter was written on the original Titanic stationery and even had the White Star line. When found, it was enclosed in the envelope. What's interesting is that, in addition to confessions to his wife, Richard had also described an almost near collision of the great ship with the SS City of New York. Of course, this happened before the ship hit the iceberg. Many believe that this brought the Titanic bad luck, and seeing how the ship turned out, they're not that wrong. And with that, we've reached the end of our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Which artifact gave you the most spooks? Do let us know your thoughts in the comments. As always, make sure to leave a like and share the video with your friends before you go. We'll see you next time with some more fun stuff. Until then, goodbye and take care.